Hello everyone, hope you're having an excellent day today. I'm doing pretty great. In this video, we're going to try to complete another 12-hour build challenge. And in the process, try to settle an age-old rivalry. The poll a number of weeks ago was between Redcoats and Bluecoats, two factions from within the classic Pirates theme. I've always enjoyed both of these two groups and featured them in a couple of MOCs back in the day. You might have noticed that some of our viewers, in fact some of our members, are very passionate in their support of one side or the other. So I thought it would be fun to settle the argument once and for all with the use of democracy. The polls don't lie, Bluecoats won in every platform. I was a little surprised by this. I thought it would be pretty balanced. Based on the comments, I would guess that a lot of people enjoy both of these themes, but prefer Bluecoats because they're the OG, or the original. Whatever the case, it is now my job to show a decisive Bluecoat victory over the Redcoats. My first thought was to use lots of tan pieces to make either an island, a beach, maybe some tan pieces in the rocks and landscape, to really capture that oceanic vibe. But then, oh yeah, I remembered I have a big dune MOC that's really using a lot of my useful tan pieces right now. That and my adventurer's MOC, which is using any of the other tan pieces I would have had. So maybe it's better to avoid tan for this build, unfortunately. But that's okay, because both Bluecoats and Redcoats feature that really nice, striking white architecture for their fortresses and towers, so that'll work oh, yeah. Any useful pieces I have in white should really be reserved for Ice Planet until that project is done and completed. Rats. Yeah, so I think because of the abundance of MOCs that are currently built, using up all my useful pieces in my collection, it'll be kind of tricky to see what we can scrounge together to make this scene happen. I do have some green pieces thanks to the disassembly of the Forester MOC, and perhaps I can get some brown and dark tan as well. Okay, so we're about 30 minutes into the build so far. A simple snot edge terrain is starting to form in front of us. We've still got plenty of lime plates in our collection, so I'll be using those for mostly filler in this part of the build. We don't want to be too large with this scene because I only have a dozen figures from each of the two factions. And I would really love to finish this build completely within the 12-hour time limit. Because of that, we're keeping this scene pretty simple, just relatively regular terrain. But I do want some sort of battlement or barricade or earthworks for the Bluecoats to be fortified in. That will be the deciding factor of this battle. They were ready for the Redcoat advance, and the Redcoats stood no chance against such fortifications. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to accomplish them, but hopefully this terrain will go together quickly and I'll have plenty of time to experiment different options. Moving forward with this build, we're just going to try and finish this landscape off nicely, but being careful of what colors we're using throughout the build. We can have a variety of greens on the front edge here where the Redcoats are advancing, but there needs to be a pretty sizable stripe of dark tan and brown right here in the back to represent those earthworks that the Bluecoats have set up. Because I'm hoping to have some wooden stakes and spikes inside the barricade, it would not make sense for there to be a lot of trees around, so we're going to keep it very simple and very focused on the minifigures for this creation. The next part of the mock I want to focus on is the earthwork ramp, the fortifications that the Bluecoats have set up. I think I have just the technique in mind that should work perfectly for this situation. It should look a lot more detailed than regular stacked bricks. Well, I'm glad that I chose dark tan to use for the earthworks. I think it looks really good. It has been a super time-consuming choice, though. Dark tan is one of those colors that is also a little bit scarce in my collection at this point. Even tracking down a 1x2 plate or a 2x4 plate was rather difficult. That big old sandworm I built really put a dent in my dark tan collection. All that said, though, we had just enough to do this nice little rampart, and I think it looks really good. I'm very pleased with how the mock is turning out right now. We're a little over 5.5 hours in at this point, and that's a really good place to be with the terrain mostly done. We'll be ready to put minifigures on soon, but there's a couple more important details I want to achieve first. As much as I like this big, spongy green terrain, it would probably benefit from a few small plants. And I think that as nice as this earth wall looks, some palisades on the bottom edge would look fantastic. I don't know what it is about palisades, but they're always so fun and satisfying to build. And they would probably work perfect in this situation because looking up some reference images of battles from this era, they did appear in fortified situations, so it would make sense. But yeah, let's knock out those last few details and get this build done on time for once. Alright, we've got a completed Bluecoat versus Redcoat battle here. I am very happy with how this build turned out. It's exactly how I imagined it in my head. A very simple idea, very easily executed in one day. This was almost exactly 7 hours of building time, even with looking for all those dark tan pieces. The scene ended up having perfect proportions for my 24 or so figures. I honestly think I could stand for just a couple more on each side, but we're making do with what we have here. I don't think I'm going to be going out of my way to collect these kind of hard to find classic Redcoat and Bluecoat figures anytime soon. It just so happened I had that giant blue flag in my collection to go for the Bluecoat figures in the fortifications. It looks perfect. It's a little bit of a highlight in the build. Some of the highlights for me, though, are the chance to make some nice palisades and be able to use some of my bright green grass stalks. They're kind of rare, and I don't get to use them all the time. They worked perfectly here, though. One thing that I'm not sure works 100% is the muzzle flashes from the muskets. There's probably a better way to have those white ice cream pieces sit on that wall. I've actually had the opportunity to fire a musket before, and despite them being incredibly hard to load, they do a ton of damage to whatever they hit, and they produce a ton of smoke. So I kind of think those pieces have to be there. It looks like General Grumpton's Redcoat soldiers were no match for the prepared fortifications of Lord Malastare. Yes, it looks like the Redcoat line is shattering under the disciplined fire of the Bluecoat line infantry. We might have to do this again sometime, give the Redcoats a chance at redemption. But until that day comes, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.